In my last video entitled Back in Time, I had gotten my clock to work, and I had it working for 2 weeks. It ran non-stop for 2 weeks, and I put it back together and everything was looking good, and I decided to wind it all the way up. Well, old clocks, a lot of them, when you wind them all the way up, they'll stop working. Normally a clock, if it's new, you should be able to wind it all the way up. My mom had an old German clock. We had it for decades, and she always wound it all the way up. It ran great, never had any problems ever. So I wound it all the way up and it stopped working. So I'm back to square one again. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it apart again, and I'm going to unwind it, which may be a challenge because I wound it all the way up. There's like a gear, and there's this little spring-loaded stop that when you wind a clock, you can hear it go tick, 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 that clicking sound. Well, that's that stop. I got to be able to wind it tighter to get that stop loose so I can unwind it. So now I'm just going to go ahead and take it apart and give that a try. I'm going to unwind it, and then I'm going to wind it maybe halfway up or so and see if it's going to work. It's really a shame because this thing's beautiful. I love this clock. So hopefully, I'm hoping that's all it is. And then I'll have to just be real careful not to wind it all the way up, and maybe just let it run all the way down and then count the turns and then reset it. So here we go again, and I'll start by taking the hands off. At least I've done this before, so I know what's going to happen here. And the hour hand is the hard part. I got to actually get up a little higher here so I can get leverage on it. It's on there really tight. Damn. Ah, got it. And I broke a nail. I'm a guitar player, so it sucks when I break a nail, even though I don't play my guitar as much as I need to. So I broke a nail. Oh well, I'll get over it. That's one of the hazards of being a guitarist that does some finger picking. Most of the time I just use a flat pick, but occasionally I do some songs where I do finger pick. So I'm gonna put the parts in here so I don't lose them. A good technician always has a place for the parts. You don't want to just leave them lying around because you will lose them. And I've done that in the past. So you learn real quick to have a place to store them. Yeah, at least I know what I'm in for here. So hopefully if I just unwind it a little, and maybe it'll run. Because it ran for 2 weeks straight, but I had it out of the case and I didn't have the hands on it. Okay, take the faceplate off. I always want to be real careful with that. You don't want to scratch that. Now this I'm just going to leave out over the side. And this should just drop out now. Now I just got to carefully work this out so it doesn't come straight out. I got to kind of twist it a little bit and move it around, and very carefully There it goes. I got you now. Okay, now I think I see the little stops. Yeah, I see them. This is going to be tricky, so I'm going to have to use the key because that's all I have. And someone that works on clocks would actually have more like a screwdriver kind of thing. So I'm just going to have to be real careful. So let me look at it here. Okay, so this is, I'm going to unwind. All I need to unwind is just the clock part, not the striker part, but I'll probably go ahead and unwind both of them. And I see the lever, so you don't want to just move the lever because the spring will let go really quick and you could damage it. So what I need to do is I need to take the key and turn it like I'm tightening it. Of course, this thing stopped running as soon as I tightened it all the way. Now it's running again. Go figure. Okay, well, that's all right. I'm just going to let it run, but I'm going to go ahead and see if I can detach this thing. So I gotta, ooh, this is not going to be easy. This could be dangerous. And I got to be careful because I don't want to damage anything. Ooh. There it goes. Okay. Now, I got to see which way I got to push this. Okay, I can see what I got to do. So, problem is, it doesn't give me any room. So I got to tighten and release. And this is not going to be easy. This is kind of scary. So, tighten and then release. And let's see if I can, oh, I got it. Now I just got to carefully let it unwind. I'll stop it there and I'm going to do it a little at a time. So I got to go forward and then back. Now I'm just unwinding it. Oh, stop. So just do it a little at a time. I'm going to unwind it all the way down. So you got to tighten it to get the thing to get loose. See, it's wanting to jump on me. Kind of scary. But it's getting looser. I can feel it. It's ticking away. That's good. Now, I'm really tearing my fingernail up now. Yep, it'll be a while before I do any guitar finger picking. One of the hazards of being a guitar player. Okay. Though most of the stuff I play, I use a flat pick, not a finger pick. I used to finger pick a lot because I did Baroque guitar music mostly, some classical stuff, but I decided that instead of wasting my time learning other people's songs, I'd rather just write my own. But I've written songs both with a flat pick and finger picking. Okay, it's getting easy now. I'm just going to let it go all the way down here. And then I think I'll do the same to the, I don't know if I need to undo the chime. I should have counted these turns. Would have been a good thing. I didn't think about it. But it's several, so. And of course, if I overwind it again, if this works, and it'll work if it's not overwound, then if I do happen to overwind it again, then I'll know how to fix it. So it's really getting loose now. So I'm just about there. Okay, that's totally unwound. And it should stop running. And it's totally stopped running. Oh, it turns real easy because it's all the way unwound. So I'm going to turn it until it starts running. Let's see. Okay, I'll call that. Okay, one turn and it starts running. So now it's running. And it stopped. Okay, I'm going to go another turn. And it starts running. And now it's running. That's 5 turns. I can't remember if I had it all the way wound up when it ran for 2 weeks. It seemed to me like I wound it all the way up and it was running, but it was outside of the case. So it's running now. I'll take the key out. So I turned it 5 turns, 5 whole turns. It was 10 half turns, but now I was having problems with it moving around and stopping when I moved it. It's not doing that now, which is good, because being on a boat and you're out in heavy seas and you're going over big waves, the clock's going to be jiggled around a lot. And it was stopping when I was jiggling it before, but I think I had it all the way wound up or close to it. Now it doesn't seem to affect it at all. It's running fine. And I can hear it ticking away. Nice sound. So I'm going to go ahead and put it back together and see if it keeps running, because I'm going nuts without knowing what time it is. Like I said earlier in my other video, I can look at the time on my phone or my laptop, but when I'm busy like editing my YouTube videos and stuff, my phone's sometimes not sitting next to me and I just really absorbed into what I'm doing, and I lose track of time and I end up staying up till like 4 in the morning, have hell to pay the next day. So I just need a clock I can glance up and look at. And of course this is ship's bells, so every half an hour it'll chime, which will be nice because that'll keep me aware of what time it is. It's clicking away, so yeah, I'm going to put this together now and see if it'll keep running. I hope it keeps running. So yeah, let's put it back together and see what we get. And there's that damn train again. Drives me nuts. In my last video I wound it all the way up and it didn't run very long and it just stopped running. And I was hoping it might start up again, but it didn't. It just stopped. Nope, that didn't do it. So the next thing is I'm going to have to take it more apart. I think I know where the problem's at. So it's really close to the part that goes back and forth, because it doesn't run very long and then it stops. A lot of the gears in there, they have to go 12 hours before they make a complete turn, a complete cycle. So I don't think it's that. So I'm going to go ahead right now, take it back apart, and that clicker part, I'm going to see if I can get into that and start taking that apart, because I see some screws there. I may be able to take some of that apart without taking the whole thing apart. I'm going to have to unwind it again. But yeah, it stopped again. So yeah, it's totally stopped. It gets to a point where I can hear it. It all of a sudden it misses a beat. You know, kind of like it's not strong, and then it clicks a couple more times and it sounds okay, and then it just stops. So it's almost like there's something somewhere in a gear somewhere that's doing that. Now it might be something wore out, but again, it could just need to be taken apart, cleaned and oiled, the whole thing. I'm going to take it apart. I just want to look at that clicker thing, so I'm going to have to de-wind it again. Oh, what a pain. I was hoping that's all it was. It's just overwound. I'm just going to see if I can take this clicker part off. It just looks like I got 2 screws here. See if I can take the whole thing off. I think this will lift right off of here. I'm thinking. So, very carefully, I'm going to lift the little ticker part off. I'm thinking maybe. I don't know if it's going to come out or not. Maybe not. Oh yeah, it's coming right out. But I got something holding it, which I think is probably a gear. No, it's can't. All right, cool. There you go. So there's a ruby on the back side too, on both. So this is the thing I think is the problem. And I got a bunch of oil and stuff under here. So what I'm going to do, so yeah, there's a ruby on each side. So I see a ruby. Let's see, I see several actually. So I see two on this side. There's 1, 2. Oh, wait a minute, I see others. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, that don't look like a ruby. But it does look like a gemstone. Almost kind of, I don't know what it is. Kind of the color of topaz, but I don't know if they use those. I know they use rubies. So that's 7. Yeah, there's 7 jewels here that I can see. Okay, so I'm gonna clean the back of this. I believe the problem is in this unit here, because these gears down in here, they move so slow. And there for a while, I only had it running for 10 seconds and it'd stop. And then I get it going, it'd run for 10 seconds and stop. And that just makes me believe that it's in this unit here. So I'm going to go ahead and clean this up and see some printing on here. Swiss made. So this part is made in Switzerland. The clock was built in Germany, but this part here is Swiss. I see a problem. So there's another little gear here, and it's kind of having a hard time. So let me see, is it there's this little lever that moves back and forth and it moves this other gear. And that might be the problem. What's going on is there's the only thing on the back side, there's a little tiny gear. And so when you wind the clock up, the tension on the spring puts pressure on this little gear. So there's a gear that goes into it. And the pressure on that gear is what makes this thing run, the clock run. It goes back and forth, tick-tock, tick-tock. Well, I think the problem is right in this area here. So it's this piece here. It doesn't look like it's lining up. I think that's the problem. So there's a little lever that moves this other gear. So what happens is there's pressure on this little tiny gear on the bottom, and it has another gear up on top. And the pressure on that gear from the spring makes this little wheel spin, the little gear spin. And there's a lever that goes into that gear. So it's the teeth are real far apart and they're angled at an angle. And so basically what it's doing is it's pushing this lever, and that's making the ticker part go back and forth. And it looks to me like it's not lined up. And it looks to me like the gear itself is crooked. So if I could maybe get that to line up better, I can fix it. So, but the bearing, which is a ruby, doesn't look loose. Nothing's moving. But that sucker does not look lined up at all. It looks off. And when I try to get it to spin, it stops. Yeah, that's crooked. Now, is it the gear that's crooked? It looks like the gear's crooked. Okay, so what I'm seeing is this thing is not lining up, and that just don't look right. It should line up perfect. It shouldn't be crooked. Okay, I see a problem. Yeah, this gear is bent. So it's bent down. Now it's leaning the opposite direction. So now it lines up. So I got it to move about 180 degrees. Let's see if I can get it to go 180 again and see if it leans back the other way. Okay, I'm going to stop it there. And yeah, okay, I think I found the problem. So this one gear, let me look and see if the whole thing is bending. Yeah, it's bent. It's bent. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to try to bend it back. Man, this is scary. I don't know if I like messing with this thing. I'm going to try using a screwdriver. Oh, I definitely moved it. Well, that looks better. And it's lining up really good. It looks a lot better. Okay, so I'm going to do, I'm just going to put a couple really tiny drops of oil in these areas, put it back together and see what happens. Okay, I'm going to put in the Swiss movement. I got it straightened out. It looks a lot better. So I think this is where the problem was, but we'll find out. So very carefully, gotta put this together properly. Just drop it into place and screw it in. Okay. Cool, I got it. Right on. Okay, I don't want to tighten it all the way. The other screw. Got it back into place. I got the little time adjustment in the right place. There's a little fork that goes onto the movement here that's for the adjusting the speed of the clock. Okay, it's back into place. Okay, I'm going to give it a couple winds and let's see if it works. So that's one. Is it going? Two. It's going. Three. Four. 5. So it is running. Sounds good. Wow, that sounds really good. It sounds real smooth. Before I would hear it kind of like miss a beat and then it would stop. So it's running. It looks real accurate. Now let me see how that lines up here. That looks perfect. The gear looks perfectly straight now. It was bent. I don't know how in the hell it got bent. And I think that could have been the problem. It was causing it to get bound up. But right now it's pretty close. It's got a little bit, slightly maybe, or it looks like it's kind of going up and down, but it's right in the spot where it needs to be. So it's lining up with a little fork that goes back and forth. There's a fork that goes back and forth, and that grabs the little gears. Their gears are spaced far apart, and I'll go ahead and bring it in close to the camera so you can maybe see it. So let me move the hammer up out of the way. Okay, you can see the part that's spinning back and forth, and then you see a little tiny gear, and it's got teeth on it that are angled, and that has to line up with this fork underneath here. I don't know if you can see it, but that little tiny gear has to line up with the fork that goes back and forth. So, at any rate, you can see it's running. I'll move the hammer up again. And you can see that little tiny gear, I'm thinking. Hopefully you can see it spinning. So it's working like it should. I don't know if you can see the rubies, but you should see at least 2 rubies there on top. One in the middle of the big wheel and one for the small wheel. So, yeah, Let's see what happens. I'll put it back together. Maybe, with some luck, it'll keep running this time. And if it doesn't, then that just means the whole thing's going to have to be taken apart and cleaned. There might be another problem somewhere. This clock project's been a real pain. I'm enjoying the hell out of it, but I just want the damn thing to work so I can move on to something better. I'm getting tired of spinning my wheels, and it's like I'm making the same video over and over. Now, before I do anything, I'm going to listen and see if it's still running. Yeah, sounds good. Actually sounds better than it ever sounded before. Sounds strong. Sounds really good. Wow. Yeah, before it was kind of weak. This sounds really strong. It'll be so cool if I can get this thing to work. I'll just love it. So, now, is this damn thing still running? Let's see. Yeah, it's running. I can see it. And I hear it. You know what? I think I got it. I really think I got it this time. It sounds really strong. That wheel got bent. So it wasn't working. When I first got it, it ran for like one day. And then little by little, it started going slower and slower. It stopped working. So then I took it apart. So I know that that it wasn't something I did to it. It must have got bent because it looked like somebody had worked on it. For one thing, the hour hand doesn't strike right at perfectly at 12. It's about a half a minute past, and I would think it would be perfect because if you take these ship's bells clocks apart, the bell mechanism is really complex, and if you don't get the gears back in right, it won't strike at, the hour hand's supposed to strike it right at the 12 and at the 6. So it's almost like a minute past before it strikes. Now there's a little slop in the minute hand, and I tried tightening it to where it was back a little bit, and I may be able to do that, but or maybe I can do something to take that play out of it so it'll strike closer to perfect. I mean, it's close enough. No one's going to probably even ever notice it, but I'll notice it because I know that's the case. This thing sounds really good. I think it's going to run now. I'm just going to keep listening for a minute here. And it sounds really strong. It never sounded this good before. So that little wheel was bent. So if somebody took this apart, they probably cleaned it and oiled it. So that might be good. They might have just bumped that wheel and bent it. But this thing's going to run. Okay, so it was at 246. So it should be like about 248 now. Let's see if the hands are moving. Oh yeah, they're moving. So now they're at 249. And what time is it? I have to adjust the time. The speed of the clock's adjustable. So it's 249. And I'm going to wait another minute. And when this thing clicks to 250, we'll see if it's on. I think I got it. I really do. I really think I got this fixed. So let's wait a minute here and see what happens. Well, this will be awesome. This will be really cool. So, yeah, it looked to me like the problem was that wheel was bent, and that was probably the main problem with it. And I went ahead and just also cleaned some oil I had sprayed on there like a dumbass. I cleaned all that off when I took the Swiss movement out. So, so I got a little oil on it and got some of the parts oiled, not the whole clock, but some of them. The parts that, I think the back pivot plate, those parts is where it wears out and has most of the problem. So I got that cleaned and oiled a little, and I straightened that bent part out, and I think now this clock is fixed. Now let me listen to it one more time. Oh yeah, sounds really good. I never heard it sound this good. It sounds like it should. Really strong, no hiccups. Yeah. So that was the problem. It was that gear that had the. All right, see, it's even, the hands are moving now. So I think it's fixed. I really do. Yeah. So there's a fork, and the fork has rubies on it, so for wear, and that fork goes back and forth. So the spring, when you wind it, puts tension on these gears, and that little tiny gear with the teeth that are angled, they just weren't lining up. So that it's got all the little teeth are all angled, and this fork goes back and forth, and that makes the other wheel with a spring on it go back and forth, tick tock, tick tock, tick tock. So they weren't lining up. At one point, the wheel was sagging down like this, and it just was not lining up with that fork. And that's not good because it can wear out, especially if it's not hitting the rubies right. The rubies are for wear, so that's why they use rubies. Gemstones, like diamonds, are the strongest element, and that's because it's crystallized carbon, so that's why diamonds can cut glass. But rubies are very hard too, and so that's why they use diamonds or rubies in clocks in some of the movements. So this is really, really super encouraging. I really think I fixed it this time. So I'll do an update in a few days, and I'm not gonna attach this to the bulkhead in my boat yet because I want to make sure the damn thing is going to keep running. I don't want to drill holes in my teak bulkhead and put a piece of crap up there that ain't going to run or work, and then have holes in my teak. So I'm just going to leave it down for a while, maybe a couple weeks, maybe longer, before I decide to put it up. But right now, it's working, and it's going to chime here in a few minutes. And it should chime, I believe, 6 times this next time. So it's just a matter of, whenever you're working on something, just be patient, try to figure out what the problem is, work the problem, and then come up with a solution. And the really important part is just be patient. Don't get all rambunctious. That's when you start causing more damage and making things worse. So you got to learn to be patient. Six times, and that's 3 o'clock. So it sounds really good. It's working. I haven't got it working this good ever. So like I said, it sounds really good. The ticker sounds really good. The chimes are perfect now. Adjusted perfect. Everything's perfect. So we'll see if I got it this time. I really hope I did, because I don't want to take this thing apart again. And so I'll do an update after it's run for a few weeks, or at least a few days anyway. and I'll find out. But I think for sure I got it this time. So if you found this video to be helpful or entertaining, please like and subscribe.